Okay, here we go. So Brandon, we're rolling now?
Are we actually okay?
Off the phone.
Yep, sorry.
Can you drink the ice cap?
No, you can
Like,
totally drink it.
you're
You
not
bought
like
the
a-
ice cap.
Yeah, but I bought it for you guys, so you're not drinking it
I
because
already
you're
had
healthy?
one. I had one.
Like an ice cap?
Yeah, I love ice caps. They're the best thing ever.
I don't want to drink it.
It's like something I've liked my whole life.
Yeah, unless someone's got to drink it. So,
Do you
anyways,
want it?
Kind of, but
I'll go get it for you.
I don't want to eat a 20-pack of Timmins and.
You need a straw. Perfect.
Well, it's gonna melt, right? So I guess
I'll hook you up. You just keep talking.
So what we're gonna talk about today is when a seller has to be out of the house on closing day, because no one seems to know. So you're prepping my drink. Ready, set, real estate. Yeah, so everyone seems to think that when they sell their house, they have until the end of the day to be out, like 5, 6 p.m., midnight, whatever.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're told that information, which is not correct. When the closing happens, the funds are transferred and everything's transferred over to the buyer, and the lawyer gives them the keys. It's their house.
Yep.
So technically a seller's trespassing on their property.
After time of closing, yeah.
And sometimes what will happen is the buyer pulls up and they're like, hello, it's like 3 p.m., it's our house now. And the seller's like, oh yeah, we just have a few more loads, no problem. That's not actually okay. Sometimes the buyer and seller work together, like it's fine, we're gonna go out for dinner anyways, you just unload, and they work together, but it really shouldn't be happening like that. The seller should be prepared to be out of the house. I have that happen, I would say, so out of 10 times, probably 4 times. You too?
That often?
Yeah, often.
Holy jeez. Yeah, no, I had it happen right now. That's why we're doing the video. Like, I'm looking at a message right now from my client. Closings today, they said at 5:04. The transaction closed at 4:40. Like, I'll tell you. Transaction closed at 4:50, and they pulled up with the load at 5:04, and they are here. We both have cars here with full loads ready to unload, and the garage is open. So, yeah, like they're still there. Now, and I feel bad because in this situation, I told them, because I'm just going off my experience, I've only ever had that happen, like, I think once, twice over 8 years. So when you say 4 to 10, that's 40% of like, that high?
It's quite often when it's my buyer. When it's my seller, I do inform them.
Yeah.
So yeah, we send out emails to them that remind them of all of this stuff.
Yeah. Sometimes
they have questions about it and we just explain it to them. But yeah, they need to make sure that they're out and that everything is also out. So the seller can't be like, oh, we don't want that table anymore. Just leave it for the new people unless it's been agreed upon. So sometimes that'll happen too. Everything does need to be out. And the seller needs to be out when it's no longer their house.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can get pretty messy.
Yeah, so like just literally got the message here too that the reason is because the house that they purchased, those sellers, it hasn't closed yet apparently, or there was they said there was a glitch, whatever that glitch is, I'm not sure. So because you can't just come from an attacking standpoint, you can't just be like, why are you not out, right? You might feel that way, and maybe you are right. Maybe they have no reason to, but maybe a lot of times there's a reason. And
there is a reason. Normally it is because they haven't got the keys for their new place, but it's not the buyer's problem.
Yeah, you're right. It isn't the buyer's problem.
And I mean, I have sympathy for the seller too, because I'm like, where are they going to go? They have this giant truck. You know, maybe someone was sick and couldn't help them, and they're people too, right? It really sucks for them, but they need to know in advance that they have to be out when the buyers get the keys, whether that means that the night before they have a truck in the driveway that's ready to go, or they stay somewhere, or whatever they do, or they have everything ready. So in the morning, it's like, we just have some dishes and some food and we pack it up and when we get the call. So yeah, I do care about them as well, because it really sucks, especially if they have kids and babies and they're sitting there like, well, what are we going to do? It's 2 p.m. This isn't our house anymore. We might not get the keys to our new place till 5 or so. So we're just going to drive around the city for 3 hours. That's frustrating for sure, but it's something that needs to be planned in advance.
Yeah,
and they need to not get upset with the buyers who come and want in, because that happens too sometimes, where the seller freaks out because they're like, we're not even ready yet, get off the property, and the buyer's like, it's our property.
Yeah, it is the buyer's.
The problem is it isn't actually the buyer or the seller's fault usually. They don't understand how it works, and they're not supposed to. We do, and we should tell them and help them.
Yeah.
So
But even that being said, a lot of it's kind of out of our hands because a lot of it has to do with the time the lawyers transfer funds, when they get the mortgage instructions, like when everything gets transferred.
Oh yeah, it's out of our hands. But they need to know the process.
But exactly, right? Like having them understand the process, communicating to them that on time of closing, the day of closing, say, the closing day, you should be ready to be out the morning of. Like I always tell people 12 o'clock is your deadline on getting out of the house, and then they will move in once the transaction's closed, and that's usually between 12 and 5 o'clock that day. It's no later than 5, and it can be earlier than 12. So if you're out at 11 and the deal's closed at 10, you are an hour late. So like just explain that to them, right? Having that conversation, because you can't really say do it the night before because they need somewhere to sleep. They probably have nowhere to sleep. That's why when you move, I think we did a video on this. When you move, there's kind of 3 options. You can buy your next house and have that closing date be before the date in which you moved out of your house. So you own 2 houses for like a certain period of time. Bridge financing usually is how that's done. You own 2 houses at once. And that's like the luxurious way of moving, because now you own these 2 houses. You can slowly move things in. Can be more than have enough adequate amount of time to move out of your house and it be sufficient. Or the homeless option, which means like it's the reverse of that. You have to be out, you need to figure out somewhere to go and then move in again, kind of like moving twice. Call it homeless because that's the worst case scenario. You don't want to be homeless, hence you're moving out twice. Or most people, I'd be curious, like what percentage of your deals are like this too, where it's all the same day. That is usually what people have to do, and that's majority, I think. And that's why with logistics of how it works with transferring funds, and like they might not have closed on the sellers might not have closed on the next house they bought, so they can't move out here yet, but this one did close, so the buyer's ready to move in. So it's the logistics all in that 10 a.m. to like 5 p.m. window the day of. It's very uncontrollable in a lot of ways. But as a real estate agent, I agree. I think it's just about saying to your seller, try to be out as soon as you can in the morning, have a truckload ready, have everything ready to go. You might have to like be in the truck and just be waiting somewhere for a while, because if your house closes, you have to be out. You can't just still be there. And then wait, maybe up till 5 before you can move into yours. But hopefully the lawyers can be quick about it. So it's very situational, old logistical stuff.
Yeah, I find a lot of my people do bridge financing, so they'll close on the new place earlier, like
that's
a week or so.
That's the best way to do it.
Yeah, and then you do pay a fee to do that, but then
and you have to get approved to do it.
Yeah, you do. Right? Yeah, so they can get into the new place, get it cleaned, painted, whatever, slowly move over, not have to worry about the closing on their place, the timing. And then also, I think that the confusion around this all comes from the actual offer, the agreement of purchase and sale, because it does say pre-printed right in the offer that on closing date, it can't be any later than 6 p.m., meaning that the lawyers can't just call you at like 8 p.m. and be like, okay, it's done. It needs to be done by 6 p.m. It doesn't mean that you have until 6 p.m. to move out.
Yes.
So they need to do their thing by 6 p.m.
Because in the contract, that's the exact time, right? Like that's what's in the contract, I'm pretty sure.
Well, the lawyers have to do it by 6.
Yeah, end of business day.
But the house is the buyer's when they get the keys. Yeah. If the buyers get the keys at noon, it's the buyer's house.
Yeah, because that means deal's closed. They only get keys when deal's closed.
Yeah, exactly. So when the deal closes, that's when it's the buyer's house. Yeah. The lawyers just have until 6 to do that.
Yeah, and you just don't know what time of day it's going to be.
So everyone seems to read the offer and they're like, we have until 6. It's like it says right here. It's like, no, it says it cannot be later than 6.
Yes, yeah.
It doesn't say you have until 6. So that's, I think, where the confusion is.
Yeah.
Because I've heard people say that as well. When I say they're not out, the other person's like, they have until 6. I'm like, no, they don't.
Yeah. That's why, too, like, that stresses the importance of, like, when you do a viewing, when you have, like, the 1, 2, 3 viewings in an offer prior to closing at a mutually agreed upon time, you make sure that one of them is, like, 3 to 5 days before closing, because then
like morning of or day before.
But enough time that you can tell lawyers if there is an issue and there are those red flags, so then they can communicate back and forth before closing and fix, maybe do a holdback or something. So, but yeah, to do that viewing, and for this situation actually that I'm dealing with right now, that just fell upon my lap, is that there was some red flags about the seller that I was even saying to the buyer. Because that's why hiring an agent that's experienced, meaning they know the telltale signs. They know which in this situation was the seller saying, we have so much stuff. Like, no, but seriously, he kept saying, we have so much stuff. Like, this is, like, just sighing about it. We have so much stuff, like, just over and over at our first viewing, our second viewing. But it's very difficult. It's what I'm supposed to say, like, okay, are you going to be out on time? Like,
Yeah,
I'll
exactly,
say that because I'm not working for them. And in fact, the seller's usually not there, but they were there at the viewing.
Yeah.
You can't kick them out of their own house. They're allowed to have the right to be at their house during one of your viewings, but usually they're not. But this case they were. And so when he was saying this, but again, that's another agent's client. I can't like just start talking to him really at all. So it's very kind of awkward. But so when they said that, I'm thinking like, like, will it be an issue? But I don't know if it's going to be an issue. I can't predict or forecast. But if it's a red flag, then I should mention it. But it's to what degree, right? Like, do you like get in touch with your lawyer and say, hey, we think that there's going to be an issue on closing. Here's why. Here's our experience. What do you think? That's smart. If you think you should do it, be cautious. I recommend doing that over not doing it. But that's all you can really do, right? On closing day. But yeah, closing day nightmares do exist. I had a transaction once where I just want to tell an interesting story. So out of a first-time buyer, worst luck ever. He bought a house. This would have been like 4 years ago. It was a power sale, and the owner who lost the house, there's a redemption clause in the offer. So the bank owned the house, the bank was selling it. The prior owner couldn't pay the mortgage, so the bank owned it, bank was selling it.
And right before closing they did?
And the deal went firm, so we went under contract with the seller, meaning we bought it. Deal's firm. Now it's done deal. We're supposed to close. Well, there's a clause in there that said that the prior owner is able to pay back the amount of arrears, the amount of money owing, and redeem the house. And he did that.
Yeah.
So we lost it.
I've had
so that happened. Plus, same buyer, a year later, because then market went up a lot. He had to save up more, get pre-approved again, finally get to a point where we're looking again, find this awesome house, buy it. On the closing day, this is like a 2-year process. Like the beginning, getting in touch, going over everything, searching for a house, buying, redemption, wait, look again, buy, closing day. This is really long. Closing day finally comes. He's like, oh, finally, I'm going to move into my first house. On the closing day, the hot water tank broke. It leaked, flooded the whole basement.
Oh, wow. Poor guy.
Yeah. So when I was dropping off a gift to him at like 5 o'clock, he comes running out like panicking. And I'm like, what's going on? And he's like, the hot water tank, and his mom was there and they're all like freaking out. So got in touch with insurance. And I guess, I don't know if this is the case for every transaction, but I think it is. Insurance for seller and buyer covered the damages actually.
Oh, wow.
So it's like double the insurance on the closing day.
They probably both, yeah.
But that means insurance might fight who pays for it though.
Yeah.
So it could be a bit of a conflict there, but you're definitely more than covered though. It's just that little thing you had to deal with. That was like the worst luck on closing day. Have you had any closing day like nightmares that like stand out?
Probably.
I know I'm putting you on the spot.
I'll have to think about that. Maybe I'll do that on another video.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea. Cool. Let's do another one.